Where's my feeling? Oh, they probably put it there. Thank you. What happened to my papers? Where is it? Oh, what I found it. Okay. Gimel. I'm reading now Gimel below the first page. Ayin ala ran al arif. I'm reading the Ran. Elo miderabonon. The מהאסמכתא בעלמא, kloima, which means miderabonon mishum chasnus. You're not allowed to eat cooked food from the rabbis because of marriage. כמו שכוסה ברבנו תם משנתנו, like רבנו תם in our Mishnah, the reason why you're not allowed to eat cooked food of goyim because of marriage. Oy כדי שלא יהיה ישראל רוגל אצלו ומאכל משנה. Or that a Israel or Jew will not be custom by a goy, eating and drinking, ve'echilenu dover tomim. No, feed him, it's oh yes. כמו שכוסה ברש"י כאן, yes. Moses said, oh. No, the Or says 2 times in 1 time.
And then only asmachta gives a gather to tell you that you don't have to smoke, but that is no smoke like that. Only smokes chasnas.
No. He says another reason, or it's another reason, but not because the reason are arguing, or it's one with the other. That's another shayla. No raya. Venireli comes the Ran and he says the big yesod. Venireli the mikol mokim came and asmachta be'alma akro. Since the Gemara rely and asmachta be'alma on the verse. So this is the big chiddush of the Ran. Dumya de krobainam, similar to the verse when Chachami made the gzeir of not to eat cooked food because of marriage, and they were soymech, they rely on the verse. So therefore, the gzeir has to fit similar to the verse. The kol shelo nishtane briyos al dehu, and when the cooked food was not changed from his creation through fire, going, for example, kloyos. Kloyos means grains that you put in an oven. A whole wheat grain, what?
You can't one storekeeper, if he does it, the only reason we allow is because another storekeeper can do it. You can give free to the children, the dried grains, get them to come and buy. We see that in Gemara.
Yes, in Boabas. Anything was not changed from his creation through fire, for example, a whole grain. To have a full barley grain, a whole barley and a whole wheat grain, and you put it inside the oven. So the fire didn't change the creation, just changed the texture, the taste. Afilu in even. Yes, bring the sugar out. Afilu even. I'm returning the page. On top of the page. Afilu hu dover shelo nechal kemo shu chai. Even if something you cannot eat it raw, ve'oile al shulchan melochin lavos bo zapat, and it comes up on table of kings to eat it together with bread. Ein mo bishul akum. There's no bishulim of akum on it. See, there's normally something which cannot be eaten raw and goes on king's table with bread. There's bishul akum. But here, we're giving a geder. This is a very famous halacha. We're giving a geder, a definition of what is it that there is an issue of bishul akum not to marry the daughters, has to be similar to the kra, similar to the verse. And the verse was water, and the food is like water. which means the food we're talking about in the pasuk is that the fire didn't change his structure, his also his creation. So the same thing is Bishul Akum. There's a very big Kiddush of the Ran. So the Ran says Bishul Akum, although you cannot eat it raw and it doesn't go on, and it goes on king's table, but the fire didn't change its creations. When you go in America or in Turkey, they have like a little booth outside in the streets, and they take this almond and they put it on platters of fire, of heat. In the cold winter, people buy this, and they crack those nuts and eat. I forgot the name. You know what I'm talking about? How's it called? Hazelnuts or something? Chestnut. So chestnuts, let's say chestnuts, you cannot eat it raw, and it goes on tables of kings. But since it changes creation, you just heat it up, you're allowed. Let's talk about, they also sell corn. Corn is what? It's something you cannot eat it raw. People could eat it raw, but it's very hard, right? The hillbillies eat it raw. But normal people cannot eat corn raw. And it's an important food that goes on tables of kings. But the fire didn't change his creation. Did the fire change the creation? No. What do you want to say? And that's what the Gemara later on. We have to learn this sugi inside. Zad Hashem. We have seen Sanos and all the showing what's the definition of Gemara. But here, open the Gemara in, if you have the Gemara in the what's his name? Gemara in the Zohar. The Gemara says in here. Lamed Chet Amud Aleph. Sorry, we're stopping you for a second. Look on top of Lamed Chet Amud Aleph. The first line, Omar, the last word in the first line. Page 38a. Omar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Omar Rav. You have it there? Kol anechal kemo shuchai. Anything that will be eaten like the way it's been raw. Ve'en boy mishum bishul yakim. There's no bishul yakim on it. Besura matnu achi. Bubebusa matnu achi. Another pen. Omar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Omar Rav. Kol shenonech al shulchan melochin. That's a part. Anything you cannot eat it on tables of kings. To eat it together with bread. And bishul yakim. There's no bishul yakim. My benayu. What's the difference between the two reasons? Ikavenayu dagim ktanim, small fish. The arde v'daise, small fish, you cannot eat it raw, but they don't eat they don't go or they don't come up on tables of kings. So if they cannot eat it raw, so there's bishul akum. According to the language, has to be important food. It's not important food. So here, there's a chiluk between. That's the definition. That's the difference between the two reasoning, and we machmir it out both. What are you saying? One second, before I hear you, I want to hear Aaron. What do you want to ask before?
Well, you said that some like peanuts.
Chestnuts. Oh, that's what you call it. Yes, chestnut. Yeah.
It doesn't change the form.
No.
But the taste doesn't change the taste.
Yes. Also grains. You put the grain on the fire, it becomes sweet. But he didn't change his creation. The Gemara define what does change your creation is. You grind and you made it wheat, flour. Sorry, you made it flour, grains to flour. You just dried in the oven. Doesn't do anything. He didn't change the structure. Grains to flour.
No, it doesn't matter the taste.
Has to be change of miscreation. If I take wheat and I grind them, you change a creation. So it has to be not only change of creation, it has to be changed from creation through fire. When you put vegetables inside a pot with a fire, the vegetable starts melting and this changes form. So when the fire changes the form, the creation, that's called cooking, and that's the cooking that, although when Chachami made a decree not to marry the goyim, and the Gemara says the definition has to be important food that goes on tables of kings or cannot be eaten raw, is not enough. The Ran is mechadesh, another barometer. That since we soymech on the vos as an asmachta on the posuk, so we had a third leg here. Not only that cannot be eaten raw, or it doesn't, it goes on tables of kings, has to be that the fire changes creation. So chestnut, the fire did not change the creation. Elamai, you have a problem of tliyot. Normal vessels of goyim is not b'nei yoimam. Number one. Number two is they don't use it for that. They use it only for chestnut. For chestnut, that's what they cook in the streets with those things. So there's two reasons why we can buy chestnut. My father used to tell me. What? Okay. And what about corn? Corn has living problems, has a lot of bugs. And the street, the fire changed the form of the corn. Corn cannot be eaten raw, and it could be important food. You have to define that. Or it goes up on tables of kings. The most a small fish, kings don't eat it. That's for cheap for poor people. That's what we know. Small fish or v'ardi v'daisa, whatever it is. That we have to see the Tosis, the definition of that.
Chopped up fish. Chopped up pieces of fish.
Small fish. Dagim ktanim, small fish.
Kosher fish or not kosher fish in it. Chopped up so you can't see the form of the fish, you can't see the scales or the thing.
We have to learn those two Tosis of Lamed. You see, Ike Banai Dagim ktanim, v'ad and Tosis, and the next one. Yes, if the learn is going, that will be the next point we have to see. But I want to go back to the Ran. The Ran is mechadesh to us that since the Gemara says that the Kona de Rabban is also the verse is asmachta, so the asmachta is defining us the isur of bishul akum. That even if you have something cannot be raw and he eats on shulchan melochim, there's no bishul akum on it if the fire didn't change his creation. Then we say Elam de Rabban. I'm continuing the Ran. Second line from the top, the second page. When we said Elo miderabonon, when the Gemara says no, Elo, what's the word Elo mean? No, really, it's not the Orai says the Rabbonon. Loi akri legamre, they didn't uproot totally my damrinon when we said at Ashton until now. The ma'amayim so Yishtana brios the same way water. It's a hekesh fruit to water. Water didn't change mi brios al de'u from the creation through fire. Af oich even food didn't change from fire. His creation, you're allowed to eat. El alav de Rosh Mameshu, it's not a real Drosha Dorais, el asmachta ba'alma. However, we do hold it, like we said until now, ba'asmachta. Whatever we said until now, we hold it as an asmachta. But definitely it's a definition of cooked food. Oh, that's the way we permit whole wheat or whole roasted grains. They didn't change in the creation through fire. Not because you can eat it raw. Let's say you can't say, you know why I'm allowed to eat whole wheat, a full wheat or full grain in the fire and the roasted in an oven, because I can eat it raw. No, even if you cannot eat it raw, or most people don't eat it raw. Still, we permit it because the fire didn't change, and it goes on tables of kings. The fire didn't change his creation. You can eat it. Yes.
whole thing.
You could,
You could eat it. Could eat
you
corn.
could, but nobody eats it like that.
But generally, I mean, if you're hungry and you're doing work in the farm, it's delicious, sweet, like you can't believe. And
You ever
it's-
tried?
The stuff they feed the animals is coarse. It's coarse corn that they feed the animals. But the stuff they feed to human beings, you can eat it right raw. It's so soft and sweet. And when you cook it, you only have to cook it just a little bit to heat it up. Just to heat it up. It's all-
Why have to eat it up?
Just, it's like fish that you cook with warm water. It's like fish that you get out of the ocean. You cook.
Okay, so what, basically, since the fire, first of all, you can eat it raw. So that's another way to permit it. I don't know if it's okay, because most people don't eat it. So we follow what most people do, or the reality with the opportunity. We have to learn that. But it says even if people cannot eat it raw, because people don't, still you can permit corn, because the fire didn't change the creation. It's still completely whole. ומדברי רש"י ז"ל מלתיר שכוסל הכמונה. I learned from Rashi, page 38b. Says there בברייתא, the והכליות, the חמין מותרים. The Gemara says, page 38b. דף ל"ח עמוד ב'. The Gemara brings Tanu Rabbono. It's 3 lines before the end of the small lines. Page 38b, 3 lines before the end of the small lines. Tanu Rabbanan. הקפריסין והכופלתות והמטליה והחמין והכליות שלהם מותרים. קפריסין, you know what's קפריסין? והכפלותות. Kafrisi means those that guard the fruit, Rashi says. Shomer lapiyim means slaf. You know, there's a tree called slaf, and there's a shell that guards the fruit. V'derech lo yichol chaim, the way they eat them raw.
Caper bush.
V'yesh shol kimoisom, some people cook them, but the way is to eat them raw, some people cook them. V'im bishlom goy mutorim, if a goy cooked them, it's permitted. Since I can eat it raw, it's permitted. והכפלותות, what is כפלותות? קרתי. נאכול מה שלך, you can eat it raw. קרתי is what? Is a leek. והמטליה, the more explains later on. והחמין, חמין means מים חמים, hot water. though משתנה מברייתו, you don't, the water didn't change from the creation through the fire. והכלויוס, Rashi says, Nami lo nishtanu, didn't change the fire, didn't change the. Where did Rashi get this rule? You have a rule, they cannot eat raw. You have a rule that goes on tables of kings. Suddenly Rashi puts in that hot water and grains have been dried in the oven up a minute, mutorim, because the fire didn't change the creation. Must be the Rand brings a raya from Rashi. When the Gemara said Asmachta, it's a true is not a source with Doraisa, but it's a source with Rabbanon to define you the Gzeir of Chazal of Chasnus. I'm not marrying the daughters, don't eat cooked food. Which cooked food? Not only that you cannot eat it raw, not only that it goes on tables of kings, the fires have changed the form. And that's why kloyos can be eaten. That's why hot water can be eaten. That's why kafrisi can be eaten. That's why kuflotois can be eaten. County leeks can be eaten. If you take an egg and you roast it, it's prohibited. Why? Because before it was liquid, and when you roast it, what happens to the inside? Became hard and solid. So the fire changed the creation. It cannot be eaten raw, and it goes on tables of kings, and the fire changed the form. Tanya here, Metalia, Feshlaya, Ishaita, my Shaiti, the 40 שנים, נופק היו במצרים ורב החנה אומר, או שיטין שינובי היו במצרים ולא פליגי בה בשניהם מייסו ביזרה דקר פוסו וביזרה דקיטנה וביזרה דשבליליטה, the total about that, they take those type of grains, they put it together, they soak it, they pishure with lukewarm water, they leave it on the mekabel, umaysi chatzon mechane tomalenu. Okay, it gives you a whole list of what is this thing, type of food. Okay. Okay. So what do we got? So he has a eye from Rashi. So the Ran says, I'm going back to the Ran. This is the fourth line, the last two words in the fourth line from the top. ומדיבר רש"י זה על עמדתי שכוסר לקמון דף ל"ח עמוד ב' בברייסה. רש"י quotes it clean in the ברייסה, דהקמון והכליות דחמי או החמין מותרים, מפני שלא נשתנו בריאתן לאור. רש"י says, because they didn't change the creation through fire. וכלויס נמי לא נשתנו. עד כאן רש"י says that close also didn't change from the fire. Fire didn't change the creation. Alma, we see from this Rashi, what permits food of goyim bishul akum if the fire didn't change the creation. Amaskona nami goy goes also on the conclusion of the Gemara. It's not only in Avamina, there's no Raisa, so it has to be changed through fire, even in the Rabbanon, but the definition of the Rabbanon is the root like the Asmachta. Av divra abrafasi matin ken. If you look in the Rif, you can see that he follows on like Rashi. Shekosav the Rif wrote, kamin, hot water, v'klayot and dry grains. Sheloiv the kochovim of goyim. Veslotos means flour, kemach sheloim of them. Kulam, all of them, mutorim are permitted. Kulam mutorim, all of them are permitted. If not, if it wasn't that the Rif holds, like Rashi, he should have written that. Why the Rif wrote this is sticking out halacha, and hot water and dry grains, and the flour, all of them are permitted. But he has to put all together, put it in, it says it's permitted. Since he mentioned the language of Sur Producer that says what? Why the Rif had to stick out from all the whole page of the Gemara, hot water and dry grains are permitted, and flour are permitted. He should have said what the Sur and Producer said. Surah said cannot be eaten raw, and Producer says that doesn't go on tables of kings. And you get, the Rif said it, but since he already said it, he gave the rule. He doesn't have to go to detail. No. He tells you a new rule. It's not enough that it cannot be eaten raw. And that's not enough that it goes on the tables of kings. Because it cannot be eaten raw. And it goes on the tables of kings, but and fire didn't change the creation like flour. Grains, you made flour, or dry grains, or hot water, they're permitted. Oh, he didn't have to write this. He already wrote that the foundation of what is the Isur of Bishul Akum, what it says in Sur and Pupadita cannot be eaten raw, and it cannot be gone tables of kings. Can you know with the Noklu about the Slosoids of Kimchin, since he wrote cannot be eaten raw and doesn't go on tables of kings together with flour and sifted flour or dry grains. It looks like he holds the tension kloyos, that the way you permit dry grains, because it didn't change the creation through fire. So we have a Ram, we have a Rashi. Sorry, we have Ram, we have Rashi, we have Rif. Woo! Rif, Rashi, Ram. Woo! Right? אבל הרמב"ם במזל, הרבינו מוישה בן רבי מימון, זיכרון לברוכו, כוסה ברמב"ם במזל סד, בפרק 17 מלכות מזל, in the 17th chapter, he wrote, וכן כליות שעובדי כוכבים מותרים. Dry grains in an oven of goyim are permitted. Why, Yonatan? You know why? Why?
They don't invite you to come to the house to eat that. They don't invite you to eat that.
The loigosru alen she'enot mezamen is very good, Rabbi Yoshua. A man doesn't invite his friend to eat dry grains a la kloyois. There's no problem of marriage. Not like Rashi that said what? Didn't change through a fire. And not like the Rif then he put it together with, they cannot be eaten raw, there's on tables of kings, and he wrote also kloyos, and hot water must be holding, the definition is because cannot fire and change him. And Rambam says a whole new reason. A whole new reason. And since the Rif didn't mention that reason, he just put it together with the rules. Cannot be eaten raw, and cannot go on tables of cook, and he says hot water and grains. Must be that's part of the rules. They give you another rule that cannot be, that's the diuk of the Ram. It's Masha of the Rif, since he put it together and didn't just leave the two rules, must be that he wants it, he holds that the heter is because he didn't change the creation of fire. But the Rambam says clearly a whole new reason. You know why it's permitted? Because a friend doesn't invite him. A person doesn't invite his friend to come and eat with him grains, dry grains by whole grains by dry grains by an oven. So there's no problem of chasnus. No, that's what I just explained now. What I spent now time to explain. What's the guy of the Rif? Because the should have fixed the guy of the Rif. But the answer is no. The guy of the Rif is not, since he wrote it also, so he said must be the third rule. Maybe no. He wrote it also because it's another rule, because there's no worry of marriage. Different time. But since he got it together, let's read again the guy. The divrei, let's go the last 2, 4, 6 lines on the top. The av dibra aval fazal matin kei. If you look in the Rif, it tilts like Rashi. שכוס אבחמים וכליות של כוחם יוסתות וקמחים שלהם כולם מותרים. Now why the Rif wrote as one unit hot water and kloyos together with flour? The reason why you're allowed to eat hot water or baked grains because you don't invite your friend in it. Why he puts it together with flour? Flour is not because you invite your friend of it. Flour didn't change through fire. And since he put it together, he should have written that. Since he wrote the 2 rules of Sum and Pabudusa, which is cannot eat raw, cannot go on the table of kings. First of all, he didn't have to write it. Made a rule. Number 2, he put it together with slatot v'kmachim, with sifted flour and flour. Neither. It looks like he puts who holds it, the permission of dry grains by an oven. Didn't change. It's like flour. The Rambam erased flour. Why? Because it doesn't go on tables of kings. Why we have to put flour? But since the Rif wrote together, he wrote hot water and dry grains and flour. When he put it together, he made a rule already. It cannot be eaten raw. Those are tables that just shut your mouth there. And I know everything else. I know that flour, the dry grains in an oven, you don't invite your friends, and there's no problem of chasnas. And that's it. And why do you put it together with flour? The whole thing of flour is out not because of fire. The fire didn't change it. It's out because it's not important food. As it is, kings don't eat it like this. Answer is put it together because it looks like that he holds that the reason is he cannot. There's not been changed by the creation didn't change by fire. But the Rambam says no. The Rambam didn't write all that. The Rambam didn't write hot water and kloyos together with flour. He just wrote kloyos cannot be eaten because it's permitted to eat of goyim because a person doesn't invite himself on kloyos.
I actually put twice. Shiשתנה to us, he put it twice.
Where?
Put twice.
Where? 2 different cases. One of hot water, one of kloyos. No, but he explains the Braise. Rashi is a parashan. The Braise gave us a list. So he explained, he always can say cool. He said, like, come on. He made it short. Okay. So that's what we have there on here. The Yosef. Comes the Yosef and he says, you have the Yosef here? Yosef Yore Sim Kuf Yud Gimel. Ve'amrinan b'Gemara, the chitin v'asoin goy kloyoy shomu. Grains of wheat that a goy made it dried in an oven, it's permitted. It's permitted. Kosav Rabbeinu Rucham. Rabbeinu Rucham wrote. Yes, Mefoshim. Some people say, you know why kloyos are permitted? Afilu en echolim v'shachar, if you don't eat them raw. So if you don't eat them raw, there's a problem of cooked food, and it's important food. Still is permitted. It doesn't say why. Which grains you're allowed to eat when it's dried by an oven by a goy, when you can eat them raw, you don't eat them like wheat. Some people grind in the mouth chaya raw. But let's say if there is wheat, barley, spelt, let's say spelt, you cannot eat it raw, for example. So then if a goy cooks it and he dries it, you're not allowed. We have a machloikes. Again, Rabbeinu Yerucham brings a machloikes between the Rabbeinu Yerucham, Yesh Mefoshim, and the Rashba. Yesh Mefoshim hold that all grains are permitted, even if you cannot eat it raw. Why? Because there's no marriage on it, because the fire didn't change the we have two reasons. The Rambam and the Rif and the Rashi and the Ramban. And the Ram, Rashi and Rif. And one side to explain because why it's permitted if you cannot be eaten raw, because the fire didn't change it. Or we have the Rambam because you don't invite your friend on it. However, the Rashba argues that Rashba because of the Rasabayis, which type of grains you're allowed to eat? Dry grains, whole grains when it's dry in an oven. We can eat it raw. Can go to chita like wheat specifically. From all the 5 grains, wheat, there is some people, you eat it raw. But let's say, if it will not be wheat, it will be a grain like that, spelt, barley, I don't know, whatever it is, that people don't eat it raw. It will be a problem of Bishul Akum. The Rambam said you don't fry your friend of it, or the fire didn't change. No, it doesn't hold this chiluk. So we have a third possibility, according to the Rashba, a third possibility why the Braisa permitted kloyos. Why the Rabbi permitted the kloyos? Or because, even though it cannot be eaten raw, and it's important food, or because people don't invite friends in it, or because the fire didn't change it. Now we have a third reason that people are talking about the specific, not all grains, kloyo, not all grains are kloyos. Only chita, only wheat, which is a grain that people eat it raw, that's why you're allowed to eat it, because we don't eat it raw, so it fits the rules of cannot be eaten raw, which Bishul was only you can't eat it raw. But on the Rif, he can't say that reason, because the Rif brought, you cannot eat it raw, and he brought specifically, he brought outstanding the case of kloyos when you already wrote the rule, cannot be raw. So why the Rif had to write it? Maybe the Gemara has 2 different prices, 2 different people. They don't have to hold one another. But the Rif that brought the rule of Popadis and Surah, why the Rif had to write kloyos alone, and why the Rama had to write kloyos alone. But it must be a whole different reason. It's not specific wheat. All grains, even if it cannot be eaten raw, there's a different reason. You don't invite your friends, or the other reason that you fire didn't change it. I know. So they're not bind to all brises. The Kos of Aran, and Aran wrote, the time or the reason why you can eat dry grains, because the creation didn't change. But the Rambam says, you know why he didn't decree on it? A man doesn't invite his friend to eat dry grains. according to the words of the Rambam and the Ran and the Rabbeinu Urim Yesh Mefoshim, Nagu the world accustomed the permission the afunim. What's afuna? What? No. Afuna is the green beans. Green, how do you call those little green peas? Green peas. The afunim including green green peas that you put them on fire and you roast them on fire. A goyim roast them on fire. No man watched them. So what there is, the world are accustomed to eat it. Why? Although cannot be eaten raw, but people don't invite their friends on to eat on the table just green peas. Or the fire didn't change the creation. That's why, according to this, the world are accustomed to eat dry in an oven or cooked in the oven green peas. Why? Because it didn't change the creation. Fire didn't change creation. You don't invite a friend on this. You don't own the table just on that. That's the Rambam and the Ran. So we have Ran, Rif, and Rashi to permit it. And we have Rambam to permit it. So that's why they extended not only on dry grains, also on dry green peas. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Corn, chestnuts. We went with my father to Chutzlotz. I went with him many times. So you can eat chestnut. Unless they smear on the pans b'shem and oil, bishat clear when they roast it. But the chestnut, they don't put any oil. They have a plate made out of stainless steel. They put fire below, ruin it. They put it there and just cooked. B'shem and b'shem, unless they put oil. That's only a place there is to worry. Shema isimu chaylev. Maybe we put forbidden fat becomes shuman because or instead of oil. But in a place where they don't cast them to put oil, she's allowed to eat all those. There's no bishul akum on the corn. There's no bishul on chestnut. There's no bishul akum on those green peas or who knows all those things that the fire didn't change the creation, or you don't base a meal on that to bring your friend. Right. But what about beans? Beans. Beans are full. It's a full chelbon, full protein. So maybe people do have meals on beans, right? Or if you have, let's say if you have rice. What about rice? Rice, you didn't change the creation, but the fire didn't change creation, but people do invite a friend on rice. If you have two grains, you have green beans and rice. So green peas, it's allowed. Didn't change the creation. You don't invite their friends. But rice and chicken beans definitely invite people. Again, we have now three reasons. We have now three reasons why you're not allowed to eat. Until now we had two. If it's not on Shulchan Malachim, it doesn't go. If it goes on tables of kings, the guy raw is prohibited. If it's not, that is permitted. I would say no. Even if you can eat it raw, and it goes on tables of kings, still you're allowed to eat it if the fire didn't change the creation, according to Rif, Rashi, and Ran, or according to the Rambam, if you don't invite your friends on it. So green peas alone fits those two criteria of people don't invite their friends on it, and it's not the fire didn't change the thing. But rice, the fire didn't change the rice cannot be eaten raw. Rice is important food, but rice is the fire didn't change the creation. So according to Rashi, Rif, and Ran are permitted, but according to the Rambam, that says the reason why it's permitted, Kloyot, It's not because the fighting changed the change. It's because you don't invite your friends on this, and rice people do invite their friends on. I'm talking about cooked rice. A guy cooked the rice for you. Let's say you know the oil. The oil. Can you cook rice without oil? No. You could. You could. Okay, so you know in that area there's no oil. You see the tail's got there's no oil. Doesn't has no oil on it. No oil on it. They don't put oil in China. No. Good. So now you went to China. Well, they steam it. So now can you eat the steamed rice of going? So machloikes. Okay, exactly. Going to the Rambam, people invite the meals on it. Other Rambam, the whole Eastern world lives on rice. But according to Rashi Rif and Ran, that they say, because the fire has to change the creation, I didn't change creation. Right? I didn't change it. According to the Rashba, is also because the Rambam he only holds the normal rule. Cannot be eaten raw, and those are on tables of kings. And since rice cannot be eaten raw and it goes on tables of kings also. So rice is also according to the Rambam, rice is also according to the Rashba, but rice is permitted according to Ran, Rif, Rashi. Ran, Rashi, and Rif. No, he holds Mati. Didn't it? Rambam, no. Rambam holds a different shita, but Rambam holds different. Yes. No, I just told you. You cannot. That's why that's why I spent time to say. But I'm answering you. No, because the Rambam is a different shita, but the Rambam doesn't change. Because you cannot explain in the Rif that the reason is of kloyos is because you don't invite your friends. Because he said why you put it together with slatot and kmachim.
That was before they had the Rambam.
After the Rambam. And what's from the Rif? Now you read the Rif, you know the Rambam, you know Rashi, and you know the Ran, you know the Rashba. When did he put the Rif on? In 1 second. Which time? Cannot. Kemach doesn't have the reason of the Rambam. No. Kemach he can't say because people don't have meals on it. They're ready. They don't want meals before.
So you just stop in the Rambam as a different shita.
I understand. Maybe you want to say, but a Rambam kosa, he wouldn't naksa the Rai anymore. I tell you why. Because if the Rambam wants to say that you don't invite your friends, if the Rif wants to say that there's no chasnos there, should bring just one case like the Rambam, just kloyos. Why do you have to bring hot water, kloyos, and kamachim etzano? We have to expand so many things. Must be to tell you all of them in one rule. According to Rashi, all of them one rule. All of them to tell you a new rule of the divide and change. But if you just want to say it fits the old rules, that there's no problem of chasnas, should have brought kloyos alone, like the Rambam just brought kloyos alone. Since he brought also chamin kleo together with kemach, seems to be matin. It looks like he's saying that the rules is the define and change it. That's what he's saying. Matin. And that stays.
The Rambam is the shikul.
Yes. What?
He said bring the Rambam as a shikul in the halakha.
Yes. That's what it looks like. I have to look at deeper, but that's what I understand. Just finish with this. Danke Moshe. V'chil magor shoshri. V'lochem noagim lechol kompasht. You know what's kompasht? Who knows kompot? Kompot means they take different fruits and they heat it up and they make jelly. Afal pishem evashli moisoi. Why? Junky jelly. Why? Because people don't invite their friends on it. You don't eat a meal on a jelly. Jelly is on the bread. You don't buy your on a jelly. Right. It's not something on its own. And it's no problem of chasnos. And what about the creation, the fighting change creation? The fight doesn't change creation. Because it melts. But the Isu Veta holds noch in change or not change, he doesn't know that rules. We have Rash, we don't follow, we only have 2 rules. It cannot be raw, it doesn't go and goes on tables of kings, but we have Rashi Rif, and Ranal holds a third Yesoid that prohibits only if the fire change the creation, or the Rambam that you invite your friends on it. And the nafkamina is afonim, rice we mentioned, or klayot. The nafkamina is okay. We have to see the shach tomorrow, and then we're going to go over the 2 toisasim on the page. You have to read those 2 toisasim there. Well, it looks like, yes. We have to see the Ramo inside. Then have to print it tomorrow. Hier רואים תלמיד שנאמר לך בצבא, תתקויים תראו ידו. ידעו נזכדה, שמי רבו.